I was called to preach at a young age, but really didn't surrender to the Lord for a while. I felt a call to start a church, and we came to Washington Courthouse, my family and I, and we attended several churches just to see what was going on, and wasn't satisfied with what we saw, even though I was invited to preach at some of the churches here in town as a guest speaker. But so we decided that what we would do, we would start a New Testament church, and with a group that we had for some of the family, we decided that we would start. We started in a living room of a house, and then from there a storefront building, and then in 1982 we bought a little church building down here. It's actually a one-room schoolhouse called Mount Eber, and we were there for 12 years. And the Lord saved. We had a lot of people saved, and a lot of people lives were changed. And then we had an opportunity in 1994, I believe, to purchase this ground in which our church is on right now. And we purchased this ground from a lady that owned the property, and for $5,000. It was a little less than 5 acres at the time, and put up our first building here in 1995. We got in it in 1995, and then I had the opportunity, as the church grew, to build a new auditorium, and we our first service in there was in September of 2009, and that's where we're having services today.
So I can only tell you this from my perspective and what I've heard from the other people that were here at that time. And there were probably about 13 to 15 of us at that time. And we met here at my aunt and uncle's house, and we just decided that there was not a independent Baptist church in this area at that time, and I know that my dad had surrendered to preach, and we packed up everything from Cincinnati. We had moved, he took a job at the church in Sabina for a short time, and so we moved here to Washington Courthouse, and my aunt and uncle opened their home. So we met here in their living room, and with chairs around, and it was both of my grandparents at that time, and my aunt and uncle, and my cousin, and myself and my sister, and several other people. It's hard to believe that the wall, the memorial wall, has a lot of those, I'm sorry, those people, those charter members on it. There's not many of us left, but this is where we started, right here in this living room. So we can go to the next location. We outgrew this. My grandfather, I believe, spoke up and said we need a bigger place. So we all pulled our money. Of course, I say we all. I didn't think I even had a job at that time. Maybe I did. But we pulled our money together and rented a place so we can go to that place next. Yep, I think that's it. Maybe 4. 4 out of that many. So then we moved to Dayton Avenue. We had at Dayton Avenue a singer that was pretty popular. He was actually not just a singer, he was an evangelist. And he was blind, and he played the piano. and his name was Bobby Peebles. And he came in, and we packed. I think we had over almost 150 people in this building. If the fire department knew that, oh my goodness, we would have been in big trouble. I had to sit on the piano bench with him while he played the piano because there was no room. There was no room to move. And it was packed. So that's the biggest thing I remember about that, is that was a huge thing for us there. Now this looks a lot bigger than what it actually was at that time, because they've done a little bit of remodeling on this. Because you would go in, it was in 2 levels, because this side was lower, and then we had Sunday schools on one side and then the church service on the other. Except the day Bobby Peebles came, we had to actually have the whole thing for church because there was just too much. And of course Dad always had it all figured out on how we could have Sunday school rooms in one place and the church in the other, and the piano was here, and singing was there, and the stage here. And so, but the thing I remember most about this building is this is where Heather and her grandmother and her sister came to us, was here. And that is the best blessing that I think God left with me as far as that goes here, is Heather Williams, because she's still a huge part of my life. And I'm so thankful for her. But at this point, and this looks huge to what it was, because it was so tiny before. Seems so tiny, maybe because we had so many bodies in there at one time. But it was a big deal to us back then. Really big deal. Gosh, that was probably in 1982. It had to be 1981, 82. Things moved fast back then, because we moved up here in 79, and by 83 we were in our brick. So it's off to Lewis Street. This was a lot bigger building, and we thought we had reached the big time. Because the biggest thing I remember about this building is that we had enough room to have a Christmas pageant or play or whatever you want to call it. And we had, I think Dad had built one of his stages, and we had Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus. And this is actually the first time that Rick came to church with me, was in this building. So this is a pretty special building to me. So, plus too, I remember my grandmother was really sick with cancer while we were here. So here is building number 3. But look, the double doors. So we would go in here because it had the double doors that you could open and stand there and shake everybody's hand. And so we grew here. This is where we did a lot of growing. I don't even remember where we had Sunday school rooms, because it was so small inside there. And the restroom, I don't really even remember that either, because it was kind of small. So I don't know that we even had a place for Sunday school, but I know we had Sunday school because, you know, Dad's real big on Sunday school. Sunday school is a must. So but we could have like our pageant. We have pictures of that where you had the sheet on your head, and then we had several members come here. And this from here is where we said, let's pray for a church building with parking, because as you can see, there was no parking. So it was really hard to park here and walk, and some of our older people. And this is where, you know, it was just I knew at this point that we were going to stay a congregation. And I think that was what was special to me, is I knew at this point, this is when I knew we were going to stay a congregation. So, building number 4. My grandma died before we left this building. Yep. And before too long, we had this building. It seems like so long ago. I guess it was. It's hard to believe that it was so long ago and I'm just 25. How'd that happen? Sweetest caretakers and trustees and deacon, and I mean, just, she was Sunday school teacher and just had every aspect of the church, everything, and the pastor in mind, just kept them in mind, and the kids, Andrew and Matt, and gosh, you can almost just hear them. Precious memories. Just almost hear them. But yeah, I got married here. Lots and lots and lots of things happened here. I guess they wouldn't care if I walked up here. Wow. This is something. Wow. Yeah, the restrooms were right around in there somewhere. And then the telephone sat right there, I remember that. But the bats would get in the church somehow, and the boys would throw rocks up so to see the bats come out. And then we had the Wonder Bus sitting out here because Dad was always thinking, how are we going to have Sunday school classrooms? So Brother Joe and Sister Irene, their trailer would sit right there, and they would have classrooms in there. And then we had a Wonder Bus out there, and I know every child that's still in our church that was in that Wonder Bus remember the kerosene headache smell, and you get out of there and your clothes stunk like crazy. But you came to church and you loved it, and the bus was a sight, but the Wonder Bus. And then we had Pioneer Days here and food on the grounds, and oh geez, all sorts of things. Easters, we all decked out and I mean, we have pictures and video of walking up and down these. I'll have to get you that video, Jonathan, of us walking up and down this walkway. Just the memories. Wow. Really good. Really good. It's amazing how God just used a place like this. And you'd be surprised at the people. Just the other day, we had our video online, and we were streaming, and somebody from the past, which I remember her, she commented, "This is my church. I went here when I was a kid. I was in the old brick building down at on Bloomingburg, New Holland Road." And it was funny because I remember her. Isn't that awesome that she still thinks that this is her church? Because she probably, at one point, had her life changed here. So from here, we went to our present location. That day was a wonderful day because it was a big production. We carpooled down, had a whole line, and we had it all planned out, mapped out, and we got in our cars and said goodbye to this place and went down to our present location. It's good, really good. Yep. Wonder if the back door's still back there. Wonder if I'll get arrested. Oh, we had to shoo the kids off of that all the time too. Yep, back door's still there. Yep. Look at that hornet's nest. Or wasp's nest. They don't use that door very often. Wonder where those bats would get in. But they did. We had a lady named Mrs. Wheatcraft lived back here. She would walk to church. She was an older lady, wore her hair up, and just as nice as could be. Look. Something. Something. Oh, that's it. And where we are now. So here we are. I remember pulling in here and all of us filing in. Of course, all that was here at this time was this building here. And man, did we think that we were in, I would say, what would be a good analogy? We thought that we were in, I don't know. We thought we made it, that's for sure. And it was a great day. And I remember walking in and people not knowing where they were going to sit, because you know, as Baptists, we all have our places to sit. So over at the other church, we had our places to sit. And when we walked in here, it was like, okay, now where do we sit? So it was something that smelled new. It was good. It was just good. And it was new. It was exciting. It was like, look where the Lord's going to take us. Let's see where the Lord's going to take us next. And to just remember how exciting that was. And then we, rested for a minute, but not long, because that's just that way. Then we started to work on Sunday schools, because this part back here, if I remember right, was just an empty shell, because we had to have a place for dinners, and we had to have a place, the office area. We had to have a place for dinners, and we had to have a place for Sunday school. So it was a multi-purpose room. So Dad had this idea that we would have these bifold doors, and I think that he took doors and put hinges on them so that they would slide like accordion doors. And so they had rollers on the bottom, and he built them. And maybe him and somebody else, I don't even remember, but he would take those doors, and we would slide them out of the way for dinners, and then slide them back, and you could hear everybody talking while we had Sunday school. But it was good. It served the purpose, and the kids learned, and they remembered that. And no more Wonder Bus. I think it was towed off. We laughed about not smelling like kerosene anymore and not having a kerosene headache. The nursery had a window in it where you could see into the sanctuary. Of course, we wanted to be able to hear also, so we had a speaker rigged up so we could hear and see, and so it was just good. And as time goes, we found the needs, you know, that things that worked, things that didn't, just like now. You know, we moved into the new sanctuary, which is over here, and so it's like we adapt. We've realized that that's not big enough. If we stay there, then we're going to die. So we move over here to the new sanctuary. So we come over here, and I remember thinking how big this place was, and the vision. And Dad was always so good about having it in his head and letting us see it from his head. And that's hard to do. That is really hard to do, to have the vision here but get everyone else to see that vision. And so we moved here, and of course there's things that worked, things that didn't work. There's times that, you know, we were picking paint color and flooring and difference of opinions, and we got through all that and unscathed, and so that was good. Of course, there's people that died and people that just went other places, and of course we miss them and wish that they would have stayed. But you know, God adds to the church, and but the thing I remember most is that when the building here was completed, and my mom was so sick at that time, and I think she only got to play the organ a couple of times at that point. But we always made sure, because down at the other buildings, every other building we had, the doors weren't big enough to get a casket through. So whenever we had someone pass, we always were at the mercy of the funeral homes. We had to have our services there. So when Mom passed, we wanted to make sure that we could get her in here. And I mean, we had services over in the other building, of course. So when we moved here, we made sure of that. But Mom was the first service here that I can, if I'm remembering that right. And that was a blessing that we could have her service in our new sanctuary. And I remember wheeling her in here in her wheelchair, and her just as pleased and proud and of this building. So, but we adapt. We always adapt. So there's things that work, things that don't. We switch things around. We change things, always changing. The message never changes. The blood is the only way. That never changes. But the method and the needs change. So I am looking forward to you know, in a few years, this video is going to be old. It's going to be old school. We'll look back and we'll go, oh my goodness, look at the difference. Look at what everything, it looks different. Remember when, remember this, and remember that, because we will keep changing. It will keep evolving. And some will be gone. But, you know, the Lord's work keeps going. You know, we have to just resolve that we're going to be here. And we're going to dig down our heels, and we're going to get the work done. And I'm proud to be a part of it. Proud to be a part of it.
Over the years, we've added a lot of different elements to worship and just to our service in general, and to the building, the facilities, and going forward, we'd like to make changes but keep the same feel, the same identity that we have and have had over all these different years. But definitely would like to upgrade the grounds, and you know, we've got a plan here in the future to try and get the building paid off that we have, and to continue moving forward and to build a place where families and church members and everyone can come together, and we can have dinners and events, and also open up to the community. We don't want to just sit still, and so of course all that depends on the faithfulness of the people. All that also depends on if we stay focused on God, put Him first, and follow the vision that we've all laid out already. And I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about what God's already done, and I think that it's important in doing this video that we remember where we came from, and just to tell people that maybe haven't been here that long the history of the building and the church, and the vision that's on that board out there. All those people that are on that board had a vision, and that goes right along with our vision, and we want to carry that. And I think it's the same as the early church, how we're continuing to carry that mission, that same philosophy, those same thoughts all these years later. And so hopefully by the time I'm dead and gone, that this ministry still goes on, is still flourishing the way it has. And I think that if we stay in prayer, keep God first, and continue to focus on people and love people for not who they are or where they are at that moment, but where they're going and where Christ and has planned for them to go and to their potential. And I think that that's an important part of the ministry here at the church.
The Lord has really blessed over the years. We've seen people come, and of course we've seen people go. But the Lord has really blessed, and a number of people who have been saved over these last almost 38 years now, and will be in a few months. But again, it's just been the Lord's leading. There's been some ups and downs, of course, and but the good times has certainly outweighed all the bad that could ever happen. I think probably the saddest thing is losing people. When I say losing people, I'm talking about people who pass on and go to be with the Lord. Oh, it's happy for them, but it's sad for us because we miss them. But we'll never forget the people who have come and helped us to grow and have contribute with their finances and their time and their talent. And then we have a plaque in our church with all the names of the people on there. And I must say the names, it's grown to a great number. A lot of things have happened since we have been here. My wife Shelby has passed on several years ago, and my daughter, one of my daughters, moved to Florida, and we miss her dearly. But I'm so glad that I have part of my family that's still here in the music, and Pastor Andrew preaching and carrying on the work that had been started so many years ago. And we hope that you that are watch this, that you'll continue to serve the Lord. here, no matter where you're at, but to serve the Lord. But we hope that He will be here and help us to invite folks to come and be part of this great work. And we hope it'll go on for a long, long time now until the Lord comes back. We're looking forward to that time coming. So thank you so very much. God bless.